Mangwana Nimalelepo Vukenjani Klekwas Manave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Mberi. We are officially one day into the Tourism Expo, which is taking place in Namibia in Windhoek at the Country Club. And yesterday was quite the opening with Minister of Tourism Pohamba Shifeta giving some encouraging words, including the importance of heritage. You'll certainly be seeing more from the expo across our shows, starting with Smile the Coffee right after this at 8 a.m. But these are some of the top stories we can expect on Africa Good Morning. Nairobi, Kenya faces severe destruction due to widespread flooding. Botswana declined request to host UK migrants. This is according to a minister. And the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has completed printing and minting the new Zimbabwe gold currency. Stay with Africa Good Morning as we get into our top stories shortly. It was showing me adjusting here. Getting into our top stories, the roads in Nairobi, the Kenyan capital, have become rivers due to extreme flooding, as a top official stated that the situation had escalated to extreme levels. Now, heavy rain has hit Kenya in recent days, leading to widespread devastation, Reuters reports.
Songa, who lives in Kiambu County outside the capital Nairobi,
I think start it again,
one of his neighbors was killed when a wall collapsed. Kevin Wasonga is one of thousands to have recently lost his home to floods in Kenya. Heavy rains across the country have displaced more than 11,000 and killed at least 38 people, according to Kenya Red Cross Society data. Wasonga, who lives in Kiambu County outside the capital Nairobi, says one of his neighbors was killed when a wall collapsed on him during a downpour.
On that tragic night, the water broke through the wall, and now it is flowing through the house.
Further southeast in Machakos County, Caroline Wambri and her children have been taking refuge at a hospital. Floods destroyed their homes 2 days earlier. Wambri filmed their ordeal as they waited on their roof to be rescued.
Right now, we have no plan. We are just pleading for help. We are just desperate because all we had was swept away by the floods. Schools resume next week, yet the kids have no uniforms, school shoes, bags. It's like we're starting a new chapter all over again. They have nothing.
The Red Cross said it has rescued 180 people countrywide from the floods. The Kenya Meteorological Department has warned more heavy rains are expected in the coming week and issued flood alerts. Authorities and aid groups have advised the public to avoid flooded areas, seek higher ground, and not drive during the downpours.
In our next story, Botswana's foreign minister has told a South African TV channel that the British government approached his country to ask whether it would be willing to receive migrants deported from the UK. He didn't say when the approach was made. It follows unconfirmed reports earlier this month in the British press that the UK government was seeking to replicate its controversial Rwanda scheme in Botswana, Armenia, Ivory Coast, and Costa Rica. Speaking in a phone interview on Newsroom Africa, Lemogang Kwape said Botswana refused the request. He He added that contact was made by Britain's Foreign Secretary and its Minister for Africa through diplomatic channels. Mr. Kwape said Botswana was unable to accept migrants from Britain because it was dealing with its own immigration issues. The British government does not want these people in their country, so they want to ferry them to a faraway country. To receive unwanted immigrants from another country while we're dealing with our own problems in the region would be unfair to Botswana, he said. Now, Portugal's president said this week that his country was responsible for crimes committed during the transatlantic slave trade and the colonial era and suggested there was a need for reparations. We have to pay the cost, Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa said, adding Portugal should look for ways to repair crimes committed. Last year, Portugal's president said his country should go beyond just an apology. He spoke at Portugal's annual commemoration of the 1974 Carnation Revolution, which toppled the country's dictatorial system. The colonial empire of Portugal, which was established in the 15th century and existed later, included dominions in Africa. It eventually stretched from the Americas to Japan. Last week, the human rights chief added his voice to those of African Caribbean countries, calling for amends to be made over slavery and colonization. Now, South Africa's military will extend the deployment of its troops in conflict-hit Mozambique and Democratic Republic of Congo, President Cyril Ramaphosa said in a statement yesterday. The extension for an unspecified amount of time will keep 1,198 personnel of the South African National Defense Force in Eastern Congo, where they are part of a UN peacekeeping force helping Congo fight rebel groups. The statement also said that 1,495 SANDF members would continue their operations in Mozambique, where they have been supporting the government's fight against violent extremism in northern areas since 2021. South Africa's military deployments abroad have come under domestic scrutiny this year after 2 SANDF soldiers were killed and 3 wounded by a mortar bomb in Congo in February. Now, the president of the Football Association of Zambia has been arrested and charged with money laundering offenses. The country's Drug Enforcement Commission alleges that Andrew Kamanga obtained government funds under false pretenses and was part of a conspiracy to defraud. The DEC says the 57-year-old used the money to fund trips for 2 associates to the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast earlier this year. Madalito Kamanga and Jairus Siame, the 2 individuals who traveled to the tournament as part of FAZ's support staff, have also been charged along with FAZ General Secretary Ruben Kamanga. An investigation revealed that neither Madalito Kamanga, who is no relation to Andrew Kamanga, nor Siame held official or executive positions within FAZ. The quartet are alleged to have acted together to obtain 341,902 Zambian kwacha. The DEC says the fraudulent activity occurred between 1 January and 15 February, coinciding with the Nations Cup finals, where Zambia exited in the group stage. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we talk to Talent Gore about the latest stories stemming from Zimbabwe.
Hallo Namibia, ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
By the Easter shark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes. Please, today you make sure that we are fed. Sorry, exactly.
All right, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe. Talent Wamkase.
Tamukhedu, Wamkase, Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe has completed printing and minting the new Zimbabwe Gold ZiG banknotes and coins. Tell us more.
Yes, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe says that they have finished printing and minting the new Zimbabwe Gold ZiG banknotes and coins, and that they are expected to start circulating next week, Tuesday. The Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe Governor Dr. John Mashayabano said the new currency denominations, backed by a combination of precious minerals and foreign currency reserves, were produced locally. He also said that the central bank had produced enough notes and coins to satisfy the needs of the market. He indicated that the delay in rolling out physical notes and coins was meant to allow for extensive public education campaigns designed to ensure that stakeholders understand and embrace the new currency. So right now we're just using we are using money in our bank accounts or using our bank cards, and we do not have physical notes yet. So they're going to start circulating next week, Tuesday.
All right, Talent. Now, the International Monetary Fund has projected Zimbabwe's economy to register 3.2% growth this year. Tell us more.
Yes, the International Monetary Fund has said that it has projected Zimbabwe's economy to register 3.2% growth in 2024, reflecting the negative impact of drought and declining global commodity prices. What this means is that if it were if there was not to be a drought in Zimbabwe and lower mineral prices, which account for the bulk of the country's exports, the domestic economy would see more solid growth this year. You also find out that this projection is also in line with the projection made by the Finance and Economic Minister, Professor Mthuli Ncube, who said that he projected Zimbabwe's economy to be in a 3.5%. So it is quite in the same category. And the message that if there was drought in Zimbabwe, we would actually project the economy to grow by a larger percentage. But because we are in a drought, the projection is
It's not as high as it could be, Talent. It seems like our network is breaking up a little bit, but I'm going to attempt to move on with you. Let's see how it goes. Cervical cancer remains a health concern in Zimbabwe.
Yes, cervical cancer remains a health concern in Zimbabwe, with the country registering 2,000 people, or rather 2,000 people dying of cervical cancer a year. This was said by the Minister of Health and Childcare, who said that the prevalence of cervical cancer in Zimbabwe is worrisome, with an estimated 3,000 new cases being diagnosed every year and 2,000 women dying of cancer each year. He said this during a tour of different cancer centers within the public health sector in Zimbabwe, where he was going around with World Health Organization officials, and also they were trying to make a way forward to end and try to deal with the burden of cervical cancer in Zimbabwe.
All right. Now, over 6,000 people have been arrested across Zimbabwe since January. Tell us why.
Yes, the Zimbabwean government is intensifying its fight against drug and substance abuse, with over 6,000 people having been arrested this year. Have been arrested for various drug-related offenses since the start of 2024, while steps are being taken for the establishment of a national drug agency whose job would be to exclusively enforce laws that deal with drug use and trafficking. Well, this was said during a post-cabinet briefing in Harare on Tuesday, where the Ministry of Information and Publicity said that they were dealing with the drug and substance abuse issue in Zimbabwe. As you all know, Zimbabwe has been battling a terrible drug and substance abuse pandemic within their youth. So you find out that 6,000 people haven't been arrested since the beginning of the year, and right now we are just in the second quarter, almost into the second quarter. It means that something is terribly wrong, and the government needs to use their efforts to deal with the drug and substance abuse in Zimbabwe right now.
All right. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa. Good morning. Let's have a look at the weather predictions. Just a brief economic news update before we swing over to the sport. The World Bank has suspended new disbursements from a $150 million fund to expand a national park in southern Tanzania, a spokesperson said on Wednesday, after the lender received allegations of killings and evictions by rangers last year. We'll certainly be bringing you more details with regards to that story. Let's head over to the economic indicators before we swing over to the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news. Starting off with soccer news first, the English Premier League that continued, a few midweek games that's going to be played this week. Important game for Arsenal. Arsenal beat Chelsea very comprehensively and they stayed in the fight for the English Premier League. They beat Chelsea by 5-0. Quite a comprehensive win for them. They played at home at Arsenal, and that means that after 34 games they have 77 league points. That is Arsenal, the leading at the moment. Liverpool have played one game less. They've got 74 points after 33 games as well. And then Manchester City, 32 games, they've played two less than Arsenal, and they've got 73 points. It's all in the hands actually of Manchester City, the defending champions. If they continue to win all their games to the end of the season, they will be champions again for the 4th consecutive year.
And of course, Liverpool was dealt a Merseyside derby shock, losing to Everton 2-0, which puts a significant blow in Liverpool's title hopes. Let's get into the highlights from Africa Good Morning this morning. Portugal has to pay costs for its colonial past, according to Portugal's president. South Africa extends troop deployment in Mozambique and Congo. And World Bank suspends Tanzania Tourism Fund over abuse allegations. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. Do make sure you check us out on oneup2.com, DSTV 285, GoTV 25. In Namibia, we'll certainly be back tomorrow. As for today and tomorrow as well, do make sure you check out the Tourism Expo happening at the Country Club. From me, Ashwin Berry, and the Africa Good Morning team, Swera Jaganaka.